Day 1 raids are more accessible than ever, but that does not make it an easy feat by any means. Hello world, I'm Daedalus, the Armored Squid, and it's time to talk about Day 1 raiding. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce my cohort for today and the voice behind my ghost, Triassic.
Hi, I am Triassic. I am a member of Destiny Clan Regicide and a good friend and fire team member of Daedalus and companion of the Squid net.
And I am an ex-admin of Regicide, gone my own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've been playing Destiny 1 since the beta. I have done every raid in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, and my Destiny journey has led me to meet you. And this is the first video that we've collaborated on this together. We've talked about this for I think years.
Yeah, we've had the idea of doing this since before VOG came out in Destiny 2.
Yes, I think Deepstone is what inspired all this for sure. I think.
Absolutely.
And we will talk about that here in a little bit. But what I want to go ahead and talk about is that if this is your first Day 1, you will hear elitists, gatekeepers, and guardians who have straight up never done a Day 1 regurgitate all kinds of statistics to scare you off. And my first piece of advice is to ignore their fragile egos.
Yeah, those kinds of folks, they tend to have a difficulty understanding that gamers, they get better with time, and Destiny players are no exception to that rule. Bungie's been making Day 1 raiding more accessible than ever to every Guardian who is willing and committed.
Absolutely. You cannot beat a Day 1 without commitment. First and foremost, you're going to need to achieve a certain light level. Every single raid that Bungie announces, they give you a light level that you will need to grind for. And that's the bare minimum work you should be willing to do, honestly. If in your Destiny experience you find that you do not like or want to grind levels, then frankly the Day 1 raid experience is not going to be fun for you or your fire team.
Yeah, not at all. You really want to make sure that you hit whatever that minimum number that they give you is, because that's what everyone's going to be brought down to in contest mode. And let's not forget that Bungie has been doing this, producing these Day 1 experiences for 7 years and counting now, and more recently more than one per year. So this is going to be the challenge of a lifetime, and everyone is just a little harder than the last usually.
Oh, it's so hilarious. Every single Day 1 experience I've ever had, I've always uttered the phrase like, that was harder than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
I no matter how like hard I think it's going to be, it always ends up being harder. Now, we also want to make it completely clear that this is not a leveling guide, this is not a build guide, or even a world's first guide. This is going to be a Day 1 guide. This is going to be your Spark Notes. This is going to be your Bible, the new Lord Shaxx version.
So, just to put a little context behind all of this, both Triassic and myself, as we said, we're experienced players. We've been playing the game. Him since, you said beta, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Me since Day 1 of vanilla launch D1. We've been players this whole time, and we are constantly doing endgame PvE activity with others who are in the top 2% of players statistically. We both have quite a lot of experience in the game and quite a lot of experience aiding what we like to call kindergardians. Your brain doesn't want to say it at first.
Yeah, kindergartians.
Yeah, we have a lot of experience bringing kindergartians through their first raiding experiences, both in Destiny 1 and in Destiny 2, be it as Sherpas or as kind of nurturing seeds, helping them to figure it out for themselves.
The following is definitely inspired by our own observations and experiences. We have definitely taken the time to consider the spectrum of experiences within Destiny 2, both playing with the elite of elite players, as well as people who, guiding Guardians through their first ever raid. That's, so if at any point in time during this conversation you feel like this isn't speaking to your Destiny experience, that's something we would like to hear about, because, spoiler alert, we want to have the best ultimate guide of all time. So
yeah, and we're not really going to get into super specific detail, not talk about any one given raid or its encounters. We are breaking things down into kind of building blocks, and we're not here to waste your time. We want to make sure this is as simple and clear and concise as possible. If you want more detail on things, feel free to let us know. We are more than happy to continue to produce content like this.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, the obvious question is why? Why do we want to do this? Why would we?
That's a good question.
Why would we be spending such a lovely evening? Sorry, it's evening now. To discuss day one rating. Yeah, Daedalus, do you want to go first? Why the hell are you doing this?
Well, just for the hell of it, honestly. I've had some not great experiences with day ones. I've had some pretty fun experiences with day ones. My best day one was with a team we didn't actually finish, but it didn't matter because of how much fun we had. And I want everyone to be able to experience that, because at the end of the day one's not about beating the raid. It's about experiencing whatever you can get through with a group of friends and being able to laugh about it as you screw up. And I want everyone to know that feeling.
Yeah, no, I second that too. My goal for this video, I will believe that we have made it when the last unique raid comes out in final shape, and the stats come out that half of the Destiny 2 concurrent players went into the first encounter. Like that's what I want to see happen, and that because honestly, there's no other experience in first-person shooters, like in FPS gaming, like full stop. Like the Destiny 2 raid experience is unique only to Destiny 2. And I want as many people as possible to know what that feels like, because there's nothing else like it. Like if you are a first-person shooter gamer, if you are into looter shooters, if you're into challenging stuff, like this is a unique challenge that you're not going to find in any other game. And I think everyone should have a shot. Yeah, take a stab at it. Go for it.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, to hit those statistics, you can go in solo and just wipe a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that out of the way, this video is going to be broken up into a few sections. The first one's going to be talking about the mentality that you're going to need as a player or as a team to be able to get through this. The second is going to be about the raid beats and what to expect gameplay wise. The third is going to focus on how to take those raid beats and what to do with them, how to approach them as a player and as a team. And then we're going to talk about how to wrap up everything together into one nice little 6 Guardian fire team. So the first section of those is mentality. What do you need to be conscious of? What needs to be going on in this noggin to raid? We have had very different experiences throughout the years, and we've put a lot of thought into this. I think, Triassic, you probably put more thought into this than me.
Yes. One of the things that I learned very early in doing day ones, my first day one ever was actually Last Wish. And one of the things that I learned very quickly is that mentality is probably the most important thing to make sure you get right when going into a day one raid. Like what I alluded to earlier, like every single day one raid, there's always the conversations afterwards like, wow, that was harder than I thought it was going to be. I remember with Vault of Glass, I thought I was going to knock it out in 5 hours. Like,
oh my god, we both were so confident about that. We were so confident about that, and I think we had 2 of the people had never raided before we were with.
Yeah,
is that right?
We were going to
like we didn't even do practice raids with them. They just never raided.
Oh my god. But yeah, no,
and yet that was the best day one experience I had.
That was super dope. But yeah, no, and that's the thing. mentality is everything going into day ones. If your goal is to finish it, the first thing that you need to have in your mind is that it is a marathon, not a sprint. And like everyone's going to say that. Anyone that you talk to that does day one, it's definitely comes off as a cliche. That being said, I just have to note that like the Destiny player base is massive, and so there are a bunch of people that are have a diverse amount of experience. I don't know about you, Daedalus, but personally, I did a lot of athletic stuff. I know that there's a lot of people who have like an athletic background that play Destiny, and I know that anyone who's ever had to run a mile understands that like whenever you're running, there gets to a certain point where you realize you're doing the same motion over and over again. You just have to keep doing that until it's over.
You're reminding me of the pacer test.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Don't bring those memories back. That's worse than a bad day one.
Oh, no, exactly. No, that's honestly what you have to think. The day one raid is going to be the pacer test, but worse. It's going to be exhausting. You have to know that, like, just going into day one, even if you're in for a couple of hours, like, it's going to stress you out. You have to keep that in mind. That you're going to be under a lot of stress because it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
The second thing and it's something that it's really it's funny. It's so hard for people to get through their head, but not finishing is not failure. Because it's people will equate not finishing a day one to failing a day one, when that is not true for anything across Destiny 2. You know, if you lose a lighthouse match, you don't fail trials. You just lost that match. You just didn't go to the lighthouse. Like, you start the card over again, and you have another go. You know, if you have a regular fire team that does Grandmasters, and your third didn't show up to farm GMs, you didn't fail Nightfalls that week. Like, that's nothing in Destiny like equates not finishing doesn't mean failure. Like, understandably, that 24-hour window toes the line between motivation and anxiety, but at the end of the day one is not the only way to experience raiding in Destiny. It is definitely the most challenging, and that's my favorite thing about it. But it's not the only way. So that's second point. Not finishing is does not mean failure.
Yeah, the way I like to see it is the only way you're failing a day one is if you didn't bother trying.
Yes, exactly. No, at the end of the day, like, playing a day one raid is an experience. Like, you can't fail an experience. Like, you can have a bad time. Like, I'm sure there's no 100% satisfaction rate at Niagara Falls. Like, I'm sure someone's shit themselves there. But, like, it doesn't mean they failed Niagara Falls. Like, you can't. They just failed their sphincter.
You shit yourself on the falls, you failed.
Yeah. Fail at Niagara Falls, you fail at life. No, like, it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I guess to the third point, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, and you know I feel very strongly about.
Oh, I know how strong you feel about this one.
Yes, taking a break is not quitting. Like,
not at all.
I will say these three things over and over and over again, like, and I need everyone to believe them. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Finishing is not failure. And most importantly, taking a break is not quitting. Because, again, like, this is going to take a long time. Humans aren't machines. There's all kinds of studies that, exhausted driving, it causes more deaths than drunk driving. Like, our brains genuinely need rest. And there's been so many examples, like within our own Destiny community, where this is always the case. Regicide Team 1, I think every single, like, almost every single day 1 raid, I want to say since Deepstone Crypt, maybe a couple of day 1s before that.
Even in Crown of Sorrow, we took a break. We didn't step away from the game. Our break was running Scourge of the Past just to feel the catharsis of actually doing damage, but we took a break from the raid.
Yeah, like every single, like, so there's so many examples of Regicide 1 where they got, like, in, now that fire team has been raiding together for a while, so they got into a certain rhythm, but it got to a point where they realized, like, okay guys, like, we've got this, all we need to do is give ourselves a break, come at this, like, refreshed with some, like, get at least let your brain process what the fuck's been going on for the past 10 hours.
Yeah, you're not gonna forget the important things. You're gonna purge the unimportant thoughts.
Exactly. You're gonna give your brain a break. You're gonna rehydrate. You're gonna get some electrolytes back into you, and then, like, what was it? Regicide beat TeknoAXE, like, the first time, like the first or second, like, attempt after, it was pretty fast when they did it, or something like that.
Yeah, they stopped, took 3-hour nap, and came back and got it, I think, on the second go when they came back.
Yeah, and the thing is, and the things, they're not unique. There are so many other day 1 teams that we talk to where that's the case, where they just, like, hey, we had to take a break. We came back and we beat the crap out of that roadblock. Sometimes that's all it takes. I would actually say every time that is all it takes. And, like, again, like, if it gets to the point where, like, you took a break and you couldn't finish, you didn't fail. Like, you still got in there.
Yeah. You launched. You beat whatever encounters you beat, and you learned something about the ones you didn't, or one of the ones you didn't.
So what if it's an X on your raid report? Like, that raid report logged in the date you were in there.
I genuinely hate the people who, like, that X on their raid report is the end of the world. No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, on the subject of breaks, like I said, you know why this is one of the most important things to me, because the last day 1 team that we were with, that we were both invited to, I had one stipulation. I had one rule.
We both did. We both had the same one rule for them.
Mm-hmm. And that was that we need to be able to take breaks, whether it was, like, scheduled breaks or not. Like, it was very important to me. I did not want to join a team that was going to exhaust everyone.
Yeah.
I wanted to be, like, even if it meant not finishing the raid, it was important to me, like, I'm not joining this team unless we are able to take breaks. And we didn't.
Yeah. For most of it, they refused. It took a lot of convincing to take a break.
At least rest for future use sake. Because, like, nothing's
humans are meant to be up 48 hours,
let
alone 24.
Yeah. So, all right, so now let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty. The main, I would say the main meat of this guide is definitely going to be the next couple of subjects that we're talking about. We're going to go ahead and cover raid beats. Every raid has a certain kind of tempo and feel to it, the way that Bungie builds it out. Most of the time on day 1, you can go straight into the triumphs and see how many encounters there are. But even still, like, each and every single raid has its own. They all kind of have very similar themes throughout them in the way that they play out. Daedalus, you have spent most of the time that we've been workshopping this idea. Every time that we discuss this, you always come up with, like, really great ways of better explaining, like, phrases. Is like, I'll come up with, like, a stupid phrase, and then you'll come up with the better version of that. And so let's go ahead and talk about raid beats.
So when we're talking about raid beats, there's really two main categories that we can break things into: encounters and mechanics. And you can kind of think of them in the sense of a public event, where the encounter is the event itself, say the Cabal drill coming down, and the mechanic is how do you solve the problem going on? How do you get rid of that drill? You gotta shoot the vents and you gotta kill the marked targets. And that's kind of how those two play together. They're very tightly intertwined, but they're two separate aspects at the same time.
No, encounters and mechanics is kind of fundamental to all of the Destiny 2 experience. And one of the things that we'll keep coming back to is that everything that you are going to experience in a raid is essentially a roided up version of what you've already experienced in Destiny 2. Yeah, so
almost everything that you'll see in a raid has appeared in some form somewhere in the game without being an end game.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so there's multiple different types of encounters, and keep in mind these are not mutually exclusive. These are kind of like building blocks. So the most basic is going to be your travel encounter. That's going to be typically platforming, going from point A to B. Mostly straightforward. You can usually see where the exit is. It's just a matter of figuring out what is the proper path to take without getting blasted off the edge or having a platform collapse underneath you. Those are going to be your travel encounters. Then there's horde style encounters, which are extremely combat focused, and the main goal of those are don't get overwhelmed. Click on as many heads as possible, clear the room as fast as possible. Typically in a horde style encounter, killing a certain amount of adds will trigger something else to happen, and that will be the trigger event. There's also puzzle oriented encounters, which are also very combat heavy and require the fire team to figure out whatever the puzzle is. Typically, there could be symbols, there could be boxes that you have to link together, and it's always a little different. Every faction has their own kind of types of puzzles that Bungie likes to use for them, and those encounters you have to survive all of the adds and clear them. Usually there's a couple of big heavies that you got to take care of also, and figure out what the hell is going on to progress. From there, there's also what the community likes to call damage gates, and these are gonna be kind of your halfway point, and you will know it when you hit it. You're gonna realize you're having a hard time getting to the damage phase of whatever the boss is, and you're not going to be doing anywhere near as much damage as you think you should be doing. The point of the damage gate is, like I said, it's the halfway point. It's kind of the cutoff. If you can make it to the damage gate, you've made it very far in the raid as far as the majority of players are concerned. And it's going to be, this is the real make or break moment. You got to do tons of damage in a short period of time while also either learning a brand new mechanic or a completely different spin on one of the mechanics you've already experienced throughout the raid. Now, if you can make it through all of those, you'll make it to the biggest bad, the boss encounter. This is where the road is leading to. It's the end of the road. This is what it's all been building up for. And congratulations if you make it to the boss. That is a massive, massive feat. And typically these are going to take everything that you've learned and throw it at you all at once.
So you have these types of encounters. These encounters are made unique based on their mechanics and the combination of both the encounter type and the mechanics. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about mechanics next.
So the mechanics are kind of like the keys. And there's a bunch of different types. You've got your plates, which are typically capture points, but not always. Sometimes it's literally like stand on a portal style button plate. You've got your totems, which are typically a discrete zone. Maybe there will be an aura around it, and when you're standing in it, you'll see something special, or you'll get a buff or a debuff. There's your banks, which if you've played Gambit, you are extremely familiar with banks. That is what Gambit is. It's literally teaching you how to use banks and how to invest. Yeah, banks are probably the most common of all of the mechanic types. You've got, buffs and debuffs, which Guardians can apply to things, but you can also get a buff or debuff. And sometimes in raids, you're going to have to transfer those between people somehow. And that somehow is going to be a mechanic. We're kind of like to call it just... What do we call it? Like, it's kind of like a relay race, like pass the buff or pass the debuff.
Yeah, it's there's no. Okay, so like whenever we wrote this script, you did a really good job of making a lot of my words sound better. We couldn't. Like, between the two of us, between these two idiots, we couldn't think of anything better than pass the buff for debuff.
Yeah. Literally, think of it as a baton, and you've got to pass it. How do you pass it? It depends on the raid.
Yeah.
It could be a case of, like, in Deepstone, where you have to use a bank and interact with it to let somebody else get the buff. It could be that you have to, in Garden of Salvation, you have to tether with someone to recharge your buff. And... so, pass the buff is very vague and is extremely closely tied to other mechanic types, but is at the same time its own mechanic type. So it's very difficult to talk about sometimes.
What about the last point?
Well, there's information relay, which is one of the things Bungie loves to do, and you will find this in every single raid they have ever put out. I think they're going to split you up. Be it 2 teams of 3, be it 1 person completely isolated, 3 teams of 2, you're gonna be split somehow. And you're gonna need to be able to, between those now smaller fire teams, talk about what's going on. You're gonna have 3 people who see one thing, 3 people who see something completely different, and you need to pass that information back and forth and figure out, put the pieces together.
Absolutely.
And that is probably the most challenging part of any raid, the most challenging mechanic, and it is guaranteed in every single raid.
Our notes here has one more mechanic.
Oh shit, yeah. There's the most important mechanic. I have no freaking clue how we did not remember this without our notes. It's the like and subscribe. And it's a YouTube mechanic, but I mean, come on.
But it's
you
the
love
meta.
us.
It's the meta. What can you do?
No, seriously though, the most important thing to remember, and this goes for both the encounters and the mechanics, is none of these are mutually exclusive. Bungie is going to mix and match. These are just Lego pieces. They're going to build a house out of them, and you just need to recognize what pieces they used.
Like Daedalus said, these are the building blocks of the raid. And the next thing that we want to talk about is, the building blocks for your team.
Yeah, so just like with the gameplay side, where it's 2 different sides of a coin, you got your encounters and your mechanics on either side, your team is going to be kind of similar in the sense that there's going to be different roles that people are going to have to play. And again, nothing is mutually exclusive, but there's going to be 2 sides to this coin. There's going to be the explicit roles, which you're going to see plain as day through the game, and the discreet roles that are, you're not going to see them. They're discreet. They're hidden. They're the things that are really going to make or break your team at the end of the day, because they're the things that aren't handed to you.
The explicit roles is what anyone watching like a day 1 stream is going to be able to pick up, right? The discrete roles are these soft skills that everyone's going to need to have something of in and of themselves in order to be able to see any of it through.
So yeah, there's multiple types, and all of these are things that you're going to see just playing Destiny, whether you're just doing story missions, whatever's going on in the event that season, or playlist activities. You're going to understand all of these already, most likely. First and foremost, ad clearing. Everything in Destiny is about killing ads. So that's kind of is what it is. And then something that you might not encounter unless you're playing medium level content is champion stunning. You're going to need to be using either special exotics or whatever the seasonal champion mods are to make sure you're stunning the barriers, the overloads, the unstoppables before they're tearing down your team and you alongside them, because they hurt.
For the point of champions, like going back to earlier, we're talking about, you know, the minimum investment that you need, like to do a day one. This is another like little asterisk there. Like, you're going to need to go ahead and get your champion mods. Prioritize if you know you're going to go into day one. Whenever the artifact comes out, I hate that this system exists the way that it is. But like,
yeah,
while this system exists, you have to know that you need to go ahead and get champion mods as quickly as you can in your artifact unlock, because ever since Garden of Salvation, they've added champions to just the default raid. And whenever things are in contest mode, those champions are on steroids, and
they slap.
Yeah, you will have to deal with them. You all will.
You gotta be able to convey the information. If you can't tackle one of the roles, you gotta make sure your team is aware so that they can compensate for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is an extremely important point. There's also going to be, and this is something we didn't directly touch on in mechanics. I personally kind of consider it under the pass the buff debuff in a way, but it's a little more unique than that. And it's relic bearing. Mm-hmm. Most raids have something that you can pick up, interact with, that's going to have a unique action set. Blocking special attacks, a explosion, firing something that stuns the boss. Look at Vault of Glass with Templar. Look at Shuro-Chi in Last Wish, even though nobody uses that, or Morgoth with the Cleanse. There's going to be some form of interactable item, which is artifacts, and you're gonna have to do something with it. Every artifact is unique, has its own functions, and everyone is gonna need to be willing and able to kind of pick that up, get an understanding of it, and figure out what they need to do with it. And that is a really important team role. Don't be surprised if you're juggling things around, guys, because now that we've had VOW, we know Bungie's not afraid to throw things at us. And now those are all relics in VOW that we've seen before in other raids, some of which aren't in the game anymore, but we're not going to know about that. Cough, cough, nut, cough, cough.
We have one more kind of explicit role. And the thing is, though, like, I think this role kind of starts leading into some of the discrete roles.
It's kind of the segue point, and it's observing. You got to keep your eyes open for anything you can interact with, anything that can take damage. Like if there's a crystal on the wall that you shoot and you see numbers, you got to make a note of that. If you got to be looking in the bottom right corner if you're seeing, or bottom left corner, I guess. If you're seeing, a buff or a debuff appear, if you're seeing unique text when you kill a certain enemy.
There is the role of the observer, like in a lot of raids, where like you stand here and watch.
Or you gotta point something out. It goes hand in hand with the information relay mechanic types, where, for example, in the first proper encounter of Deepstone, you've got somebody underneath the ground and people have to look through a glass floor and tell them what they see. That would be the observer role in that case.
Like doing Last Wish, legit. Like you have the one person that's whenever at Riven, you have the observer who calls out where the little taken essence is exploded.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, but this starts going into like some of these discrete roles.
Like I said, the discrete roles are ones that are not as clear and straightforward when you first look at the game, first look at whatever the encounter is. But they're probably more critical than the explicit roles. And they are going to be like pattern recognition, puzzle solving, the changing of positions, perspectives, and the likes, and taking on leadership.
When it comes to recognizing patterns, one of the things that you're going to have to take in with you, every player's going to have to take in with them, is knowing that each faction has their own design language. Bungie has been trying to make an effort of making that design language a bit better to recognize. whenever you play Preservation, you'll notice that there are literally all the named symbols that you need to know for the Vowed Disciple raid are in that room. Granted, on day one, I don't know how many people recognize that. I want to say no one who was doing...
I was yelling at the team, stay in this room! It looks important! There's symbols everywhere! Everyone ran past me.
Well, I mean, but I mean, now that we know that's a thing that Bungie is okay with incorporating in their raids, like, be prepared for that. Like, know that each faction is going to have its own design language, and there's going to be certain patterns. Those are going to be the fundamentals of the puzzles. Certain faction types have, certain puzzle types common for them, but all of them are based in core mechanics that we talked about earlier. The third discrete role that we have here is being able to change positions and perspectives, and this is something that we also have personal feelings about, because going back to at the beginning where I talked about things being mental, like. In every single raid, inevitably, you're going to get to a point where you're going to have tunnel vision from that thing that you've been doing for 3 straight hours in this encounter. Most of the time, like, just taking the time for everyone just to swap roles just for a little bit, just for a couple of runs, knowing that you guys are probably going to do worse.
Yeah.
Like immediately after everyone swaps for a couple of times, like a lot of times goes a long ways. Because oftentimes what will happen is you'll find someone, when you're swapping subs, it's like, oh, I like this role better, I'm better at it. It's like, oh, good, I hated it.
Don't just swap, oh, we wiped, let's go back to what we had been doing. You got to be willing to give it the tries to let the new people get that understanding for themselves from experience and get their eyes really on what you may have been missing. Don't be afraid to admit you missed something. It's very important to be willing to get everyone's eyes on every aspect.
Being able to change perspectives, and honestly, this ties into the last one, is leadership. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that if you're watching this, you are getting a team together, all right? But there needs to be more than just one leader in many sense.
To me, taking on a leadership role in especially a day one raid, but any raid really, is don't be a dictator. Don't be the leader, but don't just be in the corner listening to what everyone is saying and doing whatever they tell you. It's extremely important to speak up when you're having trouble with something. Like we said, changing perspectives. You have to take on the initiative to say something so that everyone on your team knows that you're suffering and you need to change it up. Don't be afraid to on the wipe screen. You'll see everyone's statistics. If somebody is severely lacking on damage, say, "Hey, Joe, what's going on? Are you having a hard time with your ammo, or what loadout are you using specifically? What's going on? How can we make this better?" Don't yell at people. Don't get aggressive, but you have to be willing to, and this goes for everyone on the team, you have to be willing to speak up.
For me, the biggest thing, the greatest aspect of leadership in terms of the team dynamic is being an advocate for yourself and in your team. You all will. Well, I guess, do you want to start kind of bringing it all together? I think this is as good a time as any.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you are spending this time with your friends, theoretically. Like, this is a challenging activity that you and 5 other non-bot human beings are participating in. You have to be an advocate for yourself and for your team. Bring everything together, like, you all have to know that completing this is going to be a marathon. If some of you aren't up for that marathon, be gentle. Like, just like know that that's part of your team. Don't get mad at yourself for being a part of that team too.
Yeah.
Like, be happy that you got to get into this raid. Like, be proud that you even attempted, that you got 5 other people to get in there.
I think the most important thing from that perspective is, you're not here to ruin your relationships. You're here to have fun with 5 other people, not to end up hating those people with your like strongest passion by the end of the. No, you don't want that. You want to have fun, and you got to keep that in mind no matter what.
At the same time, whenever it comes to like the actual being prepared for day one, because we've talked a lot about like, oh, well, what's in it? Like, well, how do you actually like get ready for a day one? And in case you haven't picked up on it, play Destiny. Like,
just play.
So like particularly when it comes to the PvE experience, everything points towards the raids. You know, prepping for a day one experience, you know, doesn't have to and should exclusive, you know, be doing Master Vogue 6 days a week and twice on Sunday. Like,
God, what a pain.
You know, we've been through that, and that's not fun. Like, find some easy W's. Like, of course, do challenging stuff. You yourself do challenging stuff. For me, I love. I'll do Master Lost Sectors. You and I are a big fan of doing solo.
The dungeons I've been doing recently. I absolutely love running the dungeons solo, or even just with 2 people. Like, challenge yourself.
And those are things that, you know, like, they're going to provide a challenge. They're going to force you to use some of these hard and soft skills. You're familiar with it. You're going to get a W and some top tier loot. Like, you know, you want these positive experiences because, again, like, not like quitting and not finishing isn't failing. That being said, like, whenever it comes to this, whenever it comes to doing a day one raid, you and I, we're FromSoft fans, so we're very, very used to the feeling of, you know, failing is how you learn.
Yeah. You cannot, in a day one raid, you're not going to do it flawless. You're going to wipe. And the wipe screens, they have information too on what you should be doing.
But just know that, like, that's going to be part of the experience. And it may be a difficult one for some players to embrace. Yeah. But again, like, that's why you talk to your friends, talk to your teammates. Like, that's why they're there. so you can let them know, like, hey, your boy is straight up not having a good time.
Don't be afraid. Like, if whether you've pushed yourself so hard that you feel nauseous, or you're getting a really bad headache, or you're just mentally not doing good anymore, just speak up. Tell your buddies. Like, I have to step away. Don't be afraid to be that guy.
Oh my goodness. I hope this video gets all the views that we can indulge ourselves more like this. I want 10 views and a comment. I want someone who's gotten this far in the video to get our raid and dungeon stats and just absolutely shit on us in the comments. Like, I want that's the engagement. Anything less than a single hater.
Irish, this is a point for you and you alone. Go comment asking why I'm not in the top 1% for speed running raids, and tell me how shit I am, and dislike the video.
Dude,
thank you.
Dude, I want to hear so much shit about our PvE stats.
If you are not familiar with the community, that side of the community of Destiny, they love to tell you how bad your stats are, no matter how good your stats are. They love to call you a cheater if your stats are better than theirs, if you call them out on that. And they love to just shit on anyone they can, no matter what. The only exception being if you're Glad. And you know what? Glad, if you're watching this, go fuck yourself. I want you out of the community.
I'd seconded 100%. Yeah, no, that aspect of the community, they're so insular that they can't comprehend anyone that they don't know, and so they don't even try to make new friends, which that's fine.
That's something we didn't really touch on either, is having people. And if you want to raid, if you want to do a day one and you don't have 5 friends who play Destiny, if you have 5 friends who play similar games, the core of Destiny is free to play. Talk to them about it. If you don't have 5 friends who are interested at all, LFG groups, you will find people. Sure, there's gonna be shitty people, but you'll find the good ones, and you will stay in contact with them. Trust me, that's how I met this guy right here.
Yeah, no, 100%. My entire Destiny experience, my thesis has been Destiny 2 is at its best when you are playing with your friends.
All right. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this brief foray into the approach of raiding, and we really hope it inspires you to take the leap the next time day one comes around, which is probably going to be pretty soon. And until then, we'll see you on the battlefield, Guardians.